Tuesday, session 79 with me, Jessica Brigden of Just Be Creative Cardiology. Happy Tuesday to you. I hope you're having a great week. I am coming to you today with a quick and simple project because I know that this week is probably busier than usual for a lot of you. And so I'm going to show you a couple ways to use just one sheet of designer series paper to make a gift bag. So we'll do these in a couple of different sizes, and you'll see there's really, the great thing about this is there's not a lot of measuring. And Stampin' Up's designer series papers are amazing for this because they are double-sided, which means you can do fun little borders on your gift bags, all kinds of fun stuff. Hi Wendy, happy Tuesday to you. Thank you. Yeah, so kind of retook another look at this project. It was one I was playing with last week, kind of set it aside and decided to bring it to you today. And so if you've got some paper laying around, then I hope you'll give this a try. For today's projects, I am using 12 by 12 designer series paper. Really, you can use this formula, if you want to call it that, will work pretty much with any size. And so the projects I'm going to show you today will work specifically great if you're doing gift cards. You know, if you want to package up some greeting cards that you've made and to be able to stick them in, or maybe some other smaller items and things, or skinny items. We'll play around with this, and you can help me come up with some fun ideas perhaps to put in our gift bags here. Hi Alicia. Aw, so good to have you watch. I hope things are well at the North Pole. Yes, Alicia is from Alaska, which is exciting. I bet it is is the weather super chilly up there? It's actually really nice here in New York. Sun is shining. It is seasonably cooler. It's in the 20s, so it's chilly. We've had to make sure you start the car before you go anywhere, but not too bad. Oh, Alicia says they have 10 inches of heavy wet snow in the last couple of days. Oh boy, yes, you definitely are having having a winter season there. Definitely. Wow. Well, if you are new to the channel, if you're just jumping in, we are making gift bags today with one sheet of designer series paper. The great thing is you don't have to really measure much, and there's really no cutting unless you want your bag to be a little bit shorter. So quick and easy. Hey Luann, hey Janelle, and make sure you leave me a comment, let me know where you're from, thumbs up, like, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. I have to ask every time, but I do appreciate you helping me grow my channel, and we are plugging along here, so thank you. All right, I'm gonna flip, and we are going to go ahead and just get started here. So today I am working with the not Forever Greenery. That paper is gorgeous too. Eden's Garden, which is in shades of green, which is why I've got my teal sweater on here. And I picked out couple of patterns that I think work best for this. These have nice small florals. Hi Francis. And then the back sides are kind of fun patterns, but if you're just starting out with this, patterns like this with an all over design are a little bit easier to work with than perhaps a pattern like this, which is super directional and has stripes, because if you're going to work with stripes, you need to make sure they line up. So we're not going to bother with stripes today. We are just going to get just started with our all over patterns. And this way you don't really have to worry about any of that. Hey Terry in Tennessee. Oh yeah, no snow down there. But I think it has been kind of chilly all up and down the coast. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll pick one of these to start with. Let's go with this one. Okay, this Eden's Garden paper. It is beautiful. All right, so when I do my bags, the one thing, and you could measure if you want to be specific, you don't have to. I like my bags to have a nice contrasting border. It helps to reinforce the edge, and it makes it look pretty to have two colors. If you don't want the two color, then I still recommend that you fold over the edge so that at least you've got just an extra layer of support there. Okay, and when you're doing this, it works best to do about 1.25 inches. All right, so you can just eyeball this. Okay, so about 1.25 inches. Or if you want, go ahead and stick this in your paper trimmer with your scoring blade. All right, make sure that you only use the scoring blade. You don't want to cut this, you just want to fold over the edge here. Okay, so we've got about 1.25 inches at the top. So keep in mind that is going to shorten your paper. So we started with 12 by 12, now we've folded over 1.25 inches. Okay, you could go with a smaller measurement if you want, but 1.25 inches seems to be what works best. Now, I do recommend having some tear and tape for this. You could use your Stampin' Seal. If you are more comfortable with your liquid glue, that's fine. But I find I don't, with a glue stick or liquid glue, sometimes it just doesn't give me a strong enough hold, and I don't have the patience to let it dry. So I prefer, when working with like boxes and bags and 3D items, I prefer my tear and tape because it gives a nice secure hold and it's instant. Okay, so the name of the paper, this is the Eden's Garden paper pack, which has all things beautiful shades of green. We've got the soft succulent and the evening evergreen. It has some gold foil elements to it as well. Really, really pretty, and it really works well for any season. All right, so I just folded over the edge, secured it with a length of tear and tape. Okay, so now this is going to be my outside because I prefer the really pretty patterns, and you know, the speckles okay, but it's just not as, you know, it's not as pretty as what I wanted. All right, so this is going to be the inside. All right, so working from the outside here, you're going to take another length. This is why I'm saying you don't really have to measure anything. We're going to take that same tear and tape and go down the outside edge here of our project. Now keep in mind, if you're working with essentially a square piece of paper, by the time you fold your bag and you have your front, your back, and your sides, you are reducing your paper to about 1/3. So we started with 12 by 12. By the time we fold front, back, sides, our finished box is going to be about 4.25 inches wide. Okay, so that is kind of the limit when you're working with paper up to 12 inches, is that your biggest box with one sheet, biggest bag using one sheet, is going to be about 4.25 inches. Okay, so I put that line of tape right down the edge. I'm going to flip this now. All right, remember the speckled is going to be my inside. I'm not necessarily folding anything out, but I'm bringing this to just about the center. All right, I haven't scored my edges yet. We can monkey with that a little bit, but I am bringing this edge over. All right, bringing that over, and I'm securing that along that tape. Okay, so make sure that we've got it right along the tape. Okay, and just go right down. And now, if you're type A like me, I like my fold to be in the middle. Some of you might prefer your fold to be over here on the edge. That's fine, but I prefer it to be right about the middle. So I'm gonna hold that point there and go ahead and bring in my bone folder, and just now I'm going to score my edges. So like I said, I didn't really do any pre-measuring. If you really wanted to, then you could take your 12 by 12, you do your 1.25 inch fold over, and then stick it in your trimmer, and you're gonna score your first line about 4 inches, and then your next line at about 7.75 inches. Okay, don't quote me on that, I have to check, but all right, but that's what I was saying. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to measure, because you just fold it into about where you want it, and then bring the other side over to cover over that tear and tape. that adhesive line. Okay, so now we're going to fold up the bottom, and I've found when doing this that it works best to fold up about 2 inches. Okay, so again, I'm not really going to measure, I'm going to eyeball it. So if yours ends up being about 1 3/4 inches, or if maybe yours is 2 1/4, a little shorter, a little more, that's okay. But right around 2 inches seems to work out best. Now, you don't want to end up folding it like a whole bunch, okay? Because if you really do want a shorter box, which we'll make next, you're going to trim some of that off because you don't want all that extra bulk in there, okay? Because the most you really want to be able to fold up is about 2 inches. All right, so we've got our first fold here. Now we're going to do this interesting part where you're going to open essentially this little pocket at the bottom. You've got your score line here, so you're going to take that and flatten that little score edge right along. You're going to make these little triangles on each side. So again, if you have trouble getting in there, use your bone folder to kind of work it through. Okay. All right. Make sure you get that right on the corner. Again, bring that right to the fold line. Line your score line up on the fold and just flatten this out. Open this up here. All right, so we're going to start by bringing our bottom flap up. This is our center. We're going to bring it up just a little bit more than that, about 1/4 to 1/2 inch over that, okay? And then go ahead and score it again if you like. Now, the trick here, because I've made a few of these and torn a few of them apart, you don't want to put your adhesive here, okay? Because if you do that, when you go to expand your bag, you're going to tear the inside, all right? So for this, what we're going to do is put just a little bit of tape on this little outside corner piece, all right? You just need a little bit to hold it. All right, so not a lot, just a little bit. Okay, make sure you burnish that so you're only pulling up the waxy top, not the whole piece. Okay. All right, so just a little bit, and then go ahead and secure it. Now we're going to take that top, again, we're going to bring it down just over the edge here. This overlaps again about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. All right, your edges, your little squares here at the edge should be pretty much even. And this time we can go ahead and put our tear and tape along that top edge. Okay, just along the top here. You really don't need any more than that, just a little bit. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so this is the bottom. Now we're going to take each side, our left and our right side, and we are going to fold. See how it comes to a point on each side? We are going to fold that point over, and it's going to fill in this triangle spot. Okay, so we're just folding it over. Again, go ahead, take your bone folder to burnish that a little bit. This is going to help make the sides of your bag. So you do that on the left side, and then you're going to do the same thing on the right side. Bring your outside point right up into here. Okay, so fold that in. Okay. Work it just a little bit, and then go ahead and burnish that with your bone folder. Okay. And then we're going to kind of open this back up. And then you see how these edges are? We're going to kind of turn them inside out. We're going to press that, what was our outside fold line, we were going to press that inside, okay? So you're going to take those score lines that you made, and you're going to pinch them to make the insides of your bag. So go ahead and poke that in. Okay, flatten out your bottom there. Okay, so you've got one side, and then you can see this pinches, so you've got a nice square line at the bottom. All right, we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. Take that outside edge and fold it in. All right, so depending on how crisply you've folded or scored your lines, might take a little bit of working with. Okay, just go ahead and open it and then gently pinch this until your folds go in. Okay, and we've got a nice square bottom. All right, perfect. So this is the bottom of our bag. Our top has this nice fold. Oh, Francis says I made this look easy. Okay, phew, good. All right. Hi, Edith. Oh, I'm so glad you caught me live as well. Hi, Diana. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to have so many of you joining me live today. I love that. All right, so yes, that is my goal, was to make this look easy because I understand the frustration. I attempted this and have watched multiple videos myself, and until I got it right, and I'm hoping that that's coming across to you so that you don't have to go through all of that trial and error. Okay, so with that being said, yes, this is quick, but like I said, you are limited. If you're using a 12 by 12, we're just using one sheet of designer series paper. But by the time you fold and you got your sides and things, your bag is going to be about, yeah, this 4 1/4 inches is how wide this is. And with doing the fold over at the top and so it's about 1 1/4 inches and then about 2 inches on the bottom. This finished size is about 9 1/4. So this bag is 4 1/4 by 9 1/4 when we're all done. So it does kind of limit what you can put in there. It's about the size of a bottle of water, so that's what I have handy here. So you could perhaps do some lotions, or oh, maybe you're gifting a nice bottle of some olive oil or something like that, or some things like that. So these are going to have to be, you know, fairly skinny, tall, skinny items. Yes, chocolates, you know, like the big bars that you get of the German chocolates from Aldi's or something. We're not talking just a little bit, you know. You want to put in the big bar of chocolate, like super size. Exactly, that would be perfect. Yes, socks, nice cozy fuzzy socks. Great ideas, Alicia. All right, so let me show you the top, because once you've got this all folded here, you do want to do you might want to do a little spot for some ribbon, something to hold this in. I mean, it looks pretty without it, but you know, ribbon always adds a nice extra touch here. So there's a couple different ways. I've got this is the 1/8 hole punch. So if you have one of these, then you're going to come in, because remember, you don't want to grab your side. You want to come in about an inch from the side, so that you're not pinching the inside of your bag there. All right, so about an inch there, and then just kind of slide that over and do the same thing, an inch from each side. That to me is the easiest way to do it. You've got perfectly equal holes, and that's all good. If you do not have a 1/8 inch hole punch, then you could do this by pulling in, you know, your Stampin Pierce mat, something, some kind of foam mat. If you got your paper piercer, your paper poker, as I like to call it, or you take your pick tool with the sharp edge, you could also use this, and then you'll have to work it a little bit. I think a hole punch looks just a little bit nicer, because it gives you that nice finish, kind of professional looking edge around it. But again, you could use your, excuse me, make sure you use your pokey tool here, okay? that's the official name. No, honestly, this is the take your pick, but if you have a paper piercer or something like that, that works too. Okay, so for this, since I'm using the Eden's Garden paper, we've got some beautiful sheer ribbons, we've got some evening evergreen, and we've got some soft succulent. I like the contrast of the evening evergreen on this, but I think I'm gonna go subtle. So we'll do the soft succulent here. And there's a couple ways to do this too. You could poke it in. Okay, so coming from the outside, going in and catch that. And then you could do a knot here, decide how long you want your ribbon, and then, you know, cut and put a knot on the other side. The other way to do it, if you don't want to have to worry about knots, is, okay, so let's cut an equal length of ribbon. Just bring end to end here, trim that off. All right, we're gonna poke this in. That's always the fun part, right? Okay, so that's where your paper, take your pig tool, your paper piercer would work good. I can help you pull that ribbon, poke it through if you need to. All right, so you could do 2 separate knots, or another trick is to pull these together. I think that puts less strain on the holes if your knot is essentially in the center. Okay, so you don't want a lot of edging, but go ahead and pull that tight. All right, the heavier your items are, the stronger you're gonna wanna secure that. So maybe go ahead, double knot it, maybe triple knot. It really depends on your ribbon and how heavy the items are. Okay, so I double knot that, and now that's gonna be on the inside. You guys, nobody's really even gonna see that. And then when I'm pulling on my bag, it's not putting, the knots aren't putting the pressure on my holes because the knot is here in the center. So I think that worked out really good. All right, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side here. So go ahead and poke from the outside in. Okay. And then give yourself, I leave my ribbon on the spool until I know about what I want. Okay, and then you're gonna make sure it's about equal. Okay, you want your handles to be about the same length. All right, so bring that together, trim this here, poke in from the other side. So if you missed that the first time, instead of doing 2 knots on each side, I'm gonna bring my ends together and just do 1 knot in the middle. And then I'm going to double knot that. Oops, okay, give myself a little bit of room for my thumbs in there. So the nice thing is with paper or with ribbon or anything, always go a little bit longer. You can always make things shorter. But of course, if you cut things too short, you can't go back and make it longer. So always err on the side of being a little bit too long, and then you can always adjust that down if needed. And there we go. So we have our first finished gift bag that we said ends up being about 4 1/4 by 9 1/4. All right, really pretty, and it's nice and professional because we put our seam and we folded our edge and put our seam down the middle. And so, like I said, it hides right in there. If you're using kind of an all over pattern like this, nobody even notices. All right, that's a little bit different. Like I said, if you're going to use a pattern with an absolute direction or a stripe, that's why these get a little tricky, is because if you're going to use a striped directional pattern, you're going to need to make sure that that lines up just so. Whereas if you do an all over pattern that's random, it blends right in and you don't have to worry if you're not perfectly even. Okay. All right, so let's make one that's just a little bit shorter. Maybe we don't want a full 9 1/4. All right, but we are going to use, again, we're going to start with a piece of 12 by 12. And let's see, let's use this piece here. Again, we've got our all over pattern. Now we do have kind of a direction on this other side. The difference is it's angled across rather than up and down. So this isn't really going to be an issue, and we're going to make this our inside too. Oh, thank you, Wendy. Yeah, she says I matched the pattern. I actually did match the pattern pretty well. But the nice thing with using an all over pattern like that is if If it doesn't match up just so for you, then at least you don't have to worry about it too much. Okay, so the only direction here is that I want make sure my plants are going towards the sky and not shooting down towards the ground. All right, so again, we're gonna start with our edge. Go ahead, just fold that over about 1 1/4. Again, if you are one of those you absolutely have to measure, then go ahead and stick this in your trimmer here, your score blade right at the 1 1/4. Make sure you're using your score blade, not your cutting blade, and just fold that edge over. You could do, if you're making a more petite basket, you could do a smaller edge, but I wouldn't go anything less than a 1/2 inch, okay? That's just you need some room to be able to punch your holes and things like that. So don't go too close to the edge. All right, so this gives us a nice contrast there along the top. Beautiful. All right, so I want this one to be able to fit some finished cards. All right, so maybe I want to be able to put in, let's see, maybe I wanted to gift some of the Eden's Garden cards that I've made here, and I wanted to do a set. So I don't want my bag to be like way long. I want it to be a little bit shorter, more proportionate. Hi Mavis in North Carolina. Thank you so much for joining in. Glad you caught me live here. So our first gift bag was taller, okay? It's 4 1/4 by 9 1/4 is our finished size. So our second bag here, we're gonna make a little bit shorter so that it is more proportionate for gifting greeting cards and things like that. All right, so we started with a 12 by 12 and I folded over my edge about 1 1/4. All right, so 12 by 12 minus 1 1/4 here. Okay, so we're at 10 3/4, and I want my whole bag here. You essentially want to do 12 by 12 and cut it down to 12 by 9 1/4. That seems to be what works well, because by the time, if you do 9 1/4 minus your 1 1/4, you're at 8, and then minus, like we say, we fold up the bottom about 2 inches. That's going to bring us down to 6, and our cards are 5 1/2. So yeah, so about a 6-inch bag would be absolutely perfect. Okay, so I'm unfolding this. I'm going to 9 1/4 here, and this time I am going to trim off the edge. Okay, so with the first bag, we didn't have to cut anything. It was all good. This one, if you want your bag to be shorter, then you will need to trim that off a little bit. Okay, so we trimmed it down to 9 1/4. We folded over 1 1/4. Let's go ahead and put our adhesive, our tear and tape here along this top edge of our bag. I do this step first before I fold anything else, because that way when you go to fold it in together, the flap stays put. If you made the mistake of folding it all in first and then you wanted to fold over your flap, well, that's not going to work. Okay, so if you're going to do a nice decorative edge, you need to do that before you do anything else. All right, peel that off. Again, I love the tear and tape. Gives me a nice secure hold and instant bond. It's all good. This is going to be the outside of our bag. All right, so we're going to take our tape, go right along this outside edge. Okay. All right. Remove that. Now kind of hold this up, make sure you don't stick it to anything. All right, kind of push it right here. Hold it to the center. We're not going to crease, we're not going to score anything quite yet. All right, but just get it about where you want it. Now bring your outside edge, start folding that in, and you're going to line that up right over top of your tear and tape. All right, now secure that right down the front. Okay. All right, there we go. Good. And now let's just make sure we move it to the, what is it? Pretty much the center. Okay, make sure you've got it at the center. Hold your top there, and then go ahead and burnish the edges. All right. Oops, I got a little, there we go. Being a little bit finicky. So use if you end up with a little fold or something that's not supposed to be there, go ahead and use your bone folder to work that out. Okay. All right, perfect. Now let's just make sure we're gonna have room, yep, for our cards. So you wanna make sure you don't fold up any higher than that. All right, so 2 inches at the bottom is gonna be right about perfect. All right, in fact, I'm gonna give it just a little bit extra room there. There we go. All right, so it's the top of our bag, and we've just folded up the bottom right there at about 2 inches. So the process for this is exactly the same as the first bag. The difference is we shortened this one to start with, okay? Because you don't want a whole bunch of excess paper bunching things up. All right, so we just trimmed this. Now we're gonna open this up. All right, get your fingers in there, get your bone folder in there. Take that nice score line, again, flatten that out right along this edge. Okay, you can use your bone folder on those. You want nice crisp points. Okay, then do the same thing over here. Get your finger in there, get your bone folder in there to open that up a little bit. And again, bring that crease right up to the fold line, and then fold that out. Okay, so from here on out, it's exactly the same as the first bag. Make sure you're not putting any adhesive in this middle section. We are going to, I prefer to start with the bottom, okay? Not just to the fold line, but about a half inch from the bottom there. All right, nice smooth fold. Again, we're not going to put any adhesive in here, just on these little outside corners. So just a little bit of your tear and tape, just a tab, just to make sure that it stays put. Okay. Oops. Sometimes the tear and tape, the whole thing likes to pull up, so sometimes you need to burnish it just a little bit more. Make sure the sticky part actually stays on your paper. Okay, now we're going to take the top part, do the same thing, fold it over. That makes your little square portion equal there. All right, make sure it's even all the way across. All right, then bring that in, burnish your fold. Okay, now you can open it back up, and we're going to put a little bit of tear and tape right along that top edge. Okay. So you can see, once you get the hang of these, you can actually whip a whole bunch out. And really in no time at all. It's a great project for using that designer series paper. All right, we've all got, if you've been crafting for even not very long at all, I am sure you have a stash of paper. I know I do. I've got all kinds of paper. All right, yes, so we can just bring that over here. Okay, so now we're gonna make the sides of our bag. So we're gonna take these outside points and fold them right along the center line, right to the middle. All right, I'm gonna turn this just a little bit so you can see it a little better. You've got a few layers of paper there, so you might have to work it a little bit. Make sure you bring that right up, that point right up into that pocket. Okay. All right, I'm gonna hold it here with my fingers and then burnish this right along the edge. All right, make sure I've got it nice and even along through here. Okay, and then do the same thing, bring this point right up into the inside. Oh, Alicia, I'm so glad that you enjoyed today's projects. Yes, that was my goal. Was I know it's a busy week for folks, and especially if, well, nice homemade gift bags to match your gifts or your cards or your projects. That's so much prettier, and it's nice. You've already have the materials at home, and it saves you from having to run out to the store and fight the lines and try to find something that's the right size or that, you know, all that hassle. So why not just make something that you've got at home? All right, so that helps with the edges. Then we're going to unfold that. All right, and then we're going to open these back up. Okay. Open this back up. Fold that edge inside out. Okay, so our outer fold is now going to be an inner fold. Okay, work your bottom edge there. Should be, you might have to work your paper a little bit, but you know, it's pretty flexible. And thankfully it's pretty sturdy as well. Again, do the same thing on the other side. All right, make that outer fold, kind of reverse it there. Okay, tuck everything in nice. All right, there you have it. So this is perfectly sized. That actually ends up just a little bit longer. So we could, again, better to err on the side of too long than too short, okay? Because you can always trim it down, make it a little bit shorter. But this way, it's definitely, you can tell, definitely a few inches shorter than the other one. So you can see how you can just make all different sizes of these. But I just wanted this to be quick and easy. One sheet of paper, and you can see you can make them different sizes. You can even cut it down and make it smaller, whatever works for you. All right, so we'll do handles on this one. Let's do our evening evergreen on here. Again, 1/8 inch hole punch works perfectly. A 1/16 is tiny brad size, and that honestly is too tiny unless you have magic fingers that can poke that through. All right, so I'd say 1/8 inch. Again, if you don't have a 1/8 inch hole punch, bring in your Stampin Pierce mat, okay, and your paper poker. Decide about where you want this, okay? So come in about 1 inch from each edge. You're really gonna have to work that a little bit. Come in about 1 inch. Make sure it's about even. Okay, really work that. Honestly, I think that's a little harder, and I don't like the way it looks on the outside. So I definitely prefer just use your 1/8 inch, and I'm gonna just line this up right over top of where I had poked that. Okay, because a hole punch does give you a nice crisp hole there that just looks a little bit nicer. I really wish, I don't know why Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell our 1/8 inch and our 1/16 anymore. They were pretty handy. You can tell mine is an old Fiskars, and I've had it so long that the rubber has hardened and doesn't really fit on my handles anymore. But hey, good tools, they last a long time, right? So all right, so again, keep your ribbon on the spool, poke in one edge. Again, this is a good reason. You don't want your holes to be too big because you don't want your ribbon just slipping all over the place, but you do need it big enough to poke it through. All right, decide how big you want your loop, and then bring that up, match the ends, trim it off, poke in the other side. Yep, caught it. Okay, pull that in here. And then just as in the first bag, in order to avoid putting pressure on the two holes and having to do multiple knots, bring your ends together. We'll just do one knot. Okay, make it a little, there we go. Give yourself some room. One knot here, and then you can always double knot it if you really think you need to, depending on if you're using maybe really skinny ribbon. You might want to triple knot it, but okay. And then you can trim it if you need to, but that actually works pretty good, and you can't see it from from here anyways. All right, do the same thing on the other side. So today I've used the Eden's Garden paper with our Evening Evergreen and our Soft Succulent. These are the open weave ribbons. They tie really nicely. Okay, same thing here. Decide about how long you want your handle. Trim that off. Okay, and poke it through. And because we did that nice fold over edge, it's nice and sturdy on the top. It's not going to tear. If you just do just the single layer, then honestly I think that's too thin. I definitely think when you're using patterned papers and things, you definitely need a double layer. If you're using maybe something a little thicker like cardstock, you could probably get away, but I still think it's nice to have that nice reinforced edge. Gives it a nice finished look. Okay, trying to double knot this here. Didn't give myself quite enough room. There we go. Got it. Tuck that in there. Voila. Now it's perfect. You can open it up. You can stick in a whole bunch of cards if you like. And I've got some pretty hefty cards. So if you do cards, I've got clear envelopes on these. If you were doing regular envelopes, I would say you could do a set of 4 or 5 would work nice with their envelopes in here, and that's gives it just a nice sturdy project there. Okay, so we've got our 2 different size bags, and just imagine the possibilities, especially with all the designer series paper that you have in your home. You can make coordinating gift bags for any and every occasion here. But again, this is just one size. These were meant to be quick and simple, and without having to really do any cutting or measuring. We started with a 12 by 12 piece of designer series paper. First bag ends up finished being 4 1/4 by 9 1/4. And the second bag, we trimmed that from 12 by 12 down to 12 by 9 1/4. And again, that ends up being 4 1/4, 4 1/4 by 6 3/4. Okay, so, which actually that works out good, because if you're putting gift cards in here with their envelopes, you don't want them spilling out over the top. You want some room to add some gift wrap and things like that. If you have what do we have? Have the coordinating Eden's Garden paper, then we have the cotton paper that goes with that. That's a little bit thicker than tissue paper. You could use that, or whatever you have. Actually have some just generic sparkly gift wrap here, because I don't know if you're like me, I always save the tissue paper. So just kind of fold that in half. I learned when I worked, my first real job outside of, babysitting and things like that, I was a Hallmark girl. I worked at the Hallmark store. So just kind of fold your big sheet of tissue paper. All right, don't crease it, but gather it here and then pinch it in the middle, and then just kind of pull it up. Okay, and then you can tuck that right in the top. All right, and then because you want it to kind of spill out over and be all random. You don't want it to be, you want it to be fluffy. Okay, so gather that, pinch it in the middle. There you go, whatever tissue paper you've got, and that way you can tuck it in around your project. So that's another reason why you want your bag to be just a little bit taller than whatever the gift is in there, so that you have room to tuck in some of that tissue paper. And because you don't want people seeing the gift, as you hand it to them, you want them to be able to open it and, to have that wonder of, ooh, what's inside. All right, so I hope that you have found today's video helpful and useful, and I can't wait to, hear about all the gift bags that you've been making. I hope this helps ease some of the strain on your your week here that you can make quick and easy gift bags to go with your gifts and things. Yes, so Terry says she can't wait to try it. She has tons of paper and cardstock. Absolutely. And Alicia, I'm so glad that you got to catch me live as well. She reminds everybody, please don't forget to give me thumbs up. Give me thumbs up, like, subscribe. Really appreciate that. If you're not sure if you have subscribed to my channel, if it is written, if the word subscribe across your screen, if it is written in red, that means that you have not subscribed yet, okay? If that word is in black, then don't touch it because you are a subscriber, which is great, okay? So that's how you tell, is if it's in red, click it. If it's in black, you're good. All right. But thank you. Really appreciate it. Again, if you're doing some last minute shopping or if you need a paper pumpkin subscription, paper pumpkin gift subscriptions come with a printable gift certificate. My host code is 3UXBDK2J. And other things to note, my spring catalogs are here. I have got them labeled. I am in the process of packaging them up so that I can send them out next week. Make sure that you have them before the catalog goes live. I will be sending them free to everyone that has purchased with me here this year. So if you have not purchased with me in over 12 months, make sure you place an order, okay? All right, and if you're not sure, then reach out to me, send me a message. If you are new to shopping with me and you would like a catalog, again, send me a message so that I can have your address and I'd be happy to send you a catalog as well. All right, thank you everyone. Have a great week and I look forward to stamping with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.